Alright, so we're just gonna get right into it. This is the user interface, what the menu looks like for The Last of Us multiplayer. As you can see here, it is a little bit bare bones. You might be seeing a little petri dish with blue dots over there, but as you can see here, I went into a private match or a custom or whatever, and there isn't really a whole lot to do. There's actually a decent amount of map selections here. All of them I've played on. They're pretty enjoyable. Right here, this is the loadout section where you can customize your loadouts. And the loadouts are kind of oddly similar to Call of Duty's Pick 10 system or Black Ops 2 Pick 10 system, which I thought was a pretty good system. And kind of everything in the game kind of has a certain amount of points to them. For example, a normal long gun might have 2 points, but if you want it silenced, it requires 4 points. And just like here, there's these boosters or perks or whatever. And the different levels of those perks, they might require a little bit more points than just a level 1, which might take 1 or 2 like points out of your loadout points. But it's a pretty good system. Right here, there's like, I don't know, maybe power weapons or something. Like these are weapons you can kind of like buy in the store when you're playing the game. I haven't really done that yet, so I can't really comment on how effective they are. They might be. There's like a few preset loadouts. And right here, there's like, I don't know, some people call it paid boosters. Honestly, I think you kind of just unlock them for your progression in the population thing or the clan system. We'll get into that later. But right here, there's the customization options. But one thing to note is you can't really customize your actual character's appearance. When you start off in a match, you kind of just get this default looking character. Like you can't really pick if it's a guy or a girl. It just like if it's white or black, it just gets this random dude. Can't really customize. You can customize if they have like a hat or if they have a mask or something, but the fact that you can't really pick your character or customize them is a little bit disappointing. Because you can do that in Uncharted 3, and you could pick a character in Uncharted 2 at the very least, like a preset character. In Uncharted 3, you could customize your character, I guess. I just find it a little disappointing you can't really customize your character outside of like some hats, some helmets, and your emblem thing. And one thing that's I find pretty funny about the emblem editor in this game is it's legitimately the exact same thing as the Uncharted 3 emblem editor. But as you can see here, these are gestures, which is basically the same thing as taunt from Uncharted 3. You got a few of them. I don't really know. I found none of them truthfully that compelling to use. But like I said, the emblem editor, once again, we simply have 4 layers. One thing you might not have noticed is I think they added the ability to change opacity, which if you don't know what opacity is, it's kind of like how thick or like see-through the object is that you're selecting. But as you can see here, most of these objects are literally the same thing from Uncharted 3. Like these are actually they're the same fucking objects from Uncharted 3. A lot of them they added a few new ones, you know, in the spirit of The Last of Us, like a brick or a med pack thing, but a lot of these objects are recycled from Uncharted 3, which is a little bit disappointing. I guess they add a little bit more, but you can't really do anything in the emblem editor with these 4 layers outside of rotate, scale, and change opacity and change like the colors. That's a little disappointing. I guess the opacity thing might give us the options to like blend colors a little bit, but we still cannot move objects, which I find incredibly sad. I don't know, maybe they don't want to like I don't know, like in Call of Duty, you can move objects. You can like I don't know, do some interesting emblems if you've ever played that, but I don't know. I find it a little disappointing. As you can see here, you could also edit like the place of your emblem on your backpack, on your chest, or I don't know, helmet, or maybe nowhere. It just really depends. But like I said, the UI in The Last of Us multiplayer doesn't really seem all that eye-catching, I guess, at the start. But that's not really a big deal because the minute-to-minute gameplay, which I'll get to in a little bit, is surprisingly deep, surprisingly entertaining. But I'll get into that in just a little bit. As you can see here, this is an actual multiplayer match, and on the side you can see I decided to take a mission in this match, and missions kind of pop up based on like the sort of story progression in the multiplayer. It ties in with the clan system and like your population and those kind of like I guess they're trying to add some story element to the multiplayer, and on top of that, like depending on your population and your clan, you unlock more customization for your characters. I think gears and supplies and stuff that actually unlocks weapons. I don't think the population thing unlocks like weapons directly, but I might be wrong. But like I appreciate I like how they tried to add story to the multiplayer, but truthfully, I mean, yeah, it does have context and the whole Last of Us like thing, but I don't really care. I mean, I guess you can connect it with your like Facebook, and you can have like your Facebook friends in your clan, I guess, your imaginary clan. You can have your grandma and your sister and shit in your clan. But truth be told, I don't really care. And I'm not sure if anyone really cares. I mean, I guess it's better than like when like they try to incorporate the cinematic epic feel from the Uncharted 3 single player into the multiplayer via cinematic introduction sequences in certain maps, because oh dear lord, that show was fucking terrible. But I think a lot of people were disappointed with the whole clan system and how it worked out in The Last of Us, because it's kind of gimmicky. It doesn't really affect the gameplay, which is a good thing, I guess. But it's kind of a missed opportunity, considering a perfect example of an excellent clan system and incorporation with the game was Killzone 2, one of my favorite multiplayer games on the PS3. An excellent clan system and leaderboards for the clans and stuff. It was great. And I feel like it was a really big missed opportunity on Naughty Dog's part, and I think it would have elevated this game as a competitive game a little bit more. Well, there's some other things that kind of hinder it from being a competitive game. Obviously, when I showed you the private match or like customs, basically, you can't really tweak a whole lot. And I mean, that was kind of the same thing with Uncharted 3, I guess. But over time, they like added more features, which is a good thing, I guess. But we'll see if they add more in the private matches to actually make it an actual competitive multiplayer game. But don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying it's not competitive per se. I mean, yeah, there's competitive matchmaking, but I'm talking about like competitive, like serious competitive play. And I think the biggest gleaming issue with the game is the fact that there's two modes, which is supply raid, which is basically team deathmatch, and survivor, which is elimination with 5 rounds. But the fact that there's isn't two modes isn't the biggest issue. Well, it actually kind of is, but the fact that there's no objective play is huge, because most games that play at a competitive level usually are played with objectives in mind, because in pro modes more teamwork, and it's perfect already because this game already is kind of very teamwork based. And with an objective modes, it would have been excellent. I mean, you could argue that the TDM and the elimination requires heavy teamwork in and of itself. So, I mean, yeah, I guess it could be kind of competitive. At the same time, I feel like some objective modes, like, I have no idea why no one at Naughty Dog thought that, hey, let's add like a capture the flagish mode where, you know, one team has one, like, their supplies instead of a flag, and you have your supplies at your base, and you try to capture their supplies. That would have been perfect and in the perfect context with the Last of Us theme. But I guess they didn't think of it, or maybe like I said, I feel like the multiplayer was a little bit rushed considering there's only two modes. But I do feel like they could add maybe an objective mode down the line or something, or some more modes, because the game is in dire need of more modes. It's out of two modes. But we'll have to wait and see. But like I said, I feel like a capture the flagish mode instead of like flag supplies on each side would have been perfect and would have been really fun. I'm not sure if like a domination style mode with like 3 flags and you have to hold them, or like a King of the Hill would have worked exactly. But it might, and I don't really see the harm in them trying. It might not work with like some of the more aggressive modes like King of the Hill, considering you have limited ammo supply. And I mean, with all the people at an objective, you might just throw a Molotov and wipe them all out. But we'll have to wait and see. But I do feel like a capture the flagish mode for this multiplayer would fit in perfectly, honestly. Maybe they'll do it, maybe they won't. Obviously, there's some people who want them to be some co-op, like where you and your 4 buddies can like compete against like the infected or something. I think that'd be cool too. But I'm talking about the competitive thing, so I won't focus on the co-op too much. But in terms of the gameplay basis, it's actually surprisingly deep and surprisingly good. I mean, at first glance, it doesn't look super exciting. Like, it doesn't have that flash and bravado you see in Call of Duty, or like even I guess Uncharted, although I felt it was a little silly. At the same time, don't dismiss its initial looks, as I mean, I still stand by the fact that when you look at this game, it doesn't really look that exciting that much. At the same time, it is actually very fun to play, surprisingly. Like I said, it's very team oriented. I feel like you get the most enjoyment out of this game playing with the team, playing with a group of people. It's very fun, very satisfying, the communication and such. I've played with randoms, of course, and like it can be frustrating. The game's frustration really doesn't come from anything like gameplay wise so much as like your teammates sometimes, especially randoms, can be so fucking stupid, and one bad teammate can really affect the influence of the game and the match in general. But like I said, it's very team oriented, it's very tactical, it is slow paced. It can be kind of campy at the same time. I do feel like it's a very satisfying and rewarding gameplay. And it's not like every other multiplayer game, and I have to give him credit for not trying to copy Call of Duty. I mean, obviously there were some nods with the kind of like the loadouts and like, you know, I don't really know. Like, I guess there's a reward system, but I have to point out the fact that the reward system is moderate rewards. I'm an old school multiplayer game. I remember playing multiplayer games, and you weren't really rewarded for doing well. Like, doing well was its own reward, but as of late, like everyone, like, oh, I got 3 kills, now I need like a missile, or I need to throw a grenade that explodes on impact because I collected a certain amount of medals for hiding behind cover or something. Like, I really feel like the rewards, which is just more ammo, maybe some armor so you have more health. I feel like the rewards are, while they might not be as awesome or as flashy, they're relevant to the game, they're balanced. And I feel like they're better rewards than like half of the shit I see in Call of Duty. Where like, oh, here I'm calling in a stealth chopper and trying to. Here's a grenade that explodes like a giant like nuke, and it has its own little cartoonish mushroom cloud. Like, I feel like the reward system, which is the store basically where you can buy stuff, is a lot better than a lot of the games. Even though initially it might seem a little bit lackluster, it's rewarding. And then the gameplay itself is rewarding in its own way with the team, how team based it is. Like I said, you get the most enjoyment playing out of a team. And the crafting system definitely adds a really good wrinkle to the tactics in terms of the gameplay because you can craft things, but it's in real time, kind of like in the single player. Pause or anything. You have to like make things on the fly. And same with healing. Like you have to be smart about healing. You can't just like get shot. Like, oh, I'm gonna heal now because you're probably gonna get finished off. You have to go somewhere. You have to hide. You have to heal yourself. Teammates can revive you. Like, all these things culminate into quite a bit of depth into the multiplayer that might not initially be apparent just by viewing the game. You really have to, get in there, take some time, play the multiplayer game, because I think quite a few people, including myself, will be surprised how much they actually do enjoy the game. Because initially you might not like it, but I do feel like give it some time, play it a bit more, you'll actually like it. But at the same time, I have to say it is not for everyone. Like, you really can't go Rambo, I guess, or like solo, lone wolf this shit. You really have to stick together and work together. And I feel like for people who kind of like try to lone wolf it and play by themselves a lot, it might be a frustrating experience, and I can definitely relate. Because I mean, it's like if you have dumb teammates, you're gonna get screwed over. If you run out there by yourself and you try to like flank by yourself, you might just run into the whole fucking team. Because most people who are semi like intelligent will just stick together. So a lot of times you'll find more than one person in an encounter. But like I said, I don't really feel like that's a bad thing. I feel like it's not completely unique by any sense, and I feel like some people blew the proportion of teamwork and like how like the teamwork is what makes it unique. I feel like it's a culmination of the crafting system, the pacing, teamwork, and how it's not trying to be like every other multiplayer game out there. I feel like that the combination really makes it a pretty standout multiplayer that I feel like people should definitely give it a try, even if they might not have been initially interested, because I was surprised to find myself enjoying it quite a bit. I don't think it's God's gift to the multiplayer gaming, but I do feel like it's a pretty good multiplayer. I think Naughty Dog should be applauded for making a multiplayer that's pretty radically different. I mean, you got the Uncharted series, which is quite a bit different from the Last of Us multiplayer. Own good or whatever in your own merits. I mean, some people argue Uncharted 3 sucks or whatever. Uncharted 2 is better, but it's neither here nor there, and they have to be applauded for making some pretty distinct multiplayers, and both of them actually being pretty solid and not bad. They might be underappreciated, but they are good and solid multiplayer games that people should pay attention to. So I have to give them credit for that. But in terms of like weapon balance and gunplay, most of the weapons don't really seem overpowered. Like I haven't seen anything that seems ridiculously overpowered. The bow seems a little bit maybe too good, but not by much. The shotgun's kind of a monster at close range, the pistolet or whatever, but they're kind of crappy at a distance. So I feel like overall the gunplay is pretty balanced. So I mean, once again, like that's pretty impressive, pretty funny considering with Uncharted 3, the game went through quite a few phases of issues. But you have to keep in mind the Uncharted 3 was developed by a different team. This was the Uncharted 2 multiplayer team that developed The Last of Us. Like, there are actually two teams in Naughty Dog. The Uncharted 2 guys worked on The Last of Us, and they had another team working on Uncharted 3. So, I mean, that might have impacted the quality or whatever, but needless to say, The Last of Us multiplayer is pretty good. Some might argue that it's better than Uncharted 3. I mean, you can argue both sides. I mean, it doesn't really have that many options in terms of customs, whereas Uncharted 3 now has it. Though initially, like I said, Uncharted 3 didn't really have much shit to begin with, but improved over time. Hopefully The Last of Us does improve over time as well, because honestly, then I'd probably say it's better than Uncharted 3. I mean, one major huge thing that I haven't even mentioned is the fact that there is no blind fire in this game. You actually have to aim when you shoot, and that's a plus in and of itself. No more blind fire, no more queers running around holding R1 and shit. You have to aim. But the melee system is kind of quirky, a little bit gimmicky. Like, it's kind of silly to see two people going Mike Tyson on each other's asses, punching and swinging. Personally, I never really go for melees unless I have like an actual weapon, and you can craft a weapon to be like a one-hit kill, which is, more effective in my opinion at close quarters combat. Outside of close quarters combat, I don't really like how aiming feels. Like, it's not terrible. I'm not saying aiming sucks a dick, but I don't really like how when you aim, your reticule is a little bit wider and bigger versus when you stand still it's a little bit sharper. I mean, I guess it maybe like makes it more tactical and it kind of goes along with the whole slow pace thing, but it kind of discourages strafing, and gunfights aren't exactly the most exciting shit in The Last of Us, but it's a little bit different than, you know, some other shooters. So maybe I'm thinking it the wrong way, but I do wish kind of like the reticule wasn't so big when you're strafing, or the reticule wasn't impacted by that, but it's a minor gripe. One thing I do feel like that also like kind of impacts how slow paced the game is the fact that when you sprint, you appear on the radar. So obviously no one really wants to run around sprinting all the time and rushing. You have to be a little more cautious when you move around. That being said, don't be scared to run if you're in a hairy situation, because like I said, running is very effective. If you see two people and they're coming after you, it might be a good idea just to fucking hightail it, because you're probably not going to win in that situation. Unless maybe they both have no ammo, which maybe you could. Since ammo is pretty scarce, but of course you can go to the store and buy it pretty quickly. But like I said, I feel like if they removed like the ability to like, I don't know, show up on the radar when you sprint, the game would be a whole different piece. Like it might be a little bit more faster paced. It might be along the lines of like a Gears of War multiplayer. Like I said, executions, which were pretty satisfying, kind of remind me quite a bit of Gears of War, which is definitely a positive thing. The store kind of brings back memories of Counter-Strike and how you'd earn money while you were playing, and then you could buy some better weapons on the fly or in the next spawn. It was pretty cool. So, right, those two comparisons are nothing but positive things. Counter-Strike and Gears of War, very good multiplayer games. And The Last of Us kind of like isn't completely original, but in total it has its own unique vibe and feel and theme to it that works well. And like I said, I'm very surprised that I am enjoying the multiplayer quite a bit. That being said, there are some gripes I have, naturally, you know, but one big issue I kind of have that I'm not really sure what's with Naughty Dog and having the ability to see through walls, since in Uncharted 2 everyone complained about situational more or less. Maybe there were a few like secret in the closet situational fans who loved it or something, but most people on the forums publicly bashed situational and how gay it was. Then in Uncharted 3 we had like four-ish different variations of situational, from Come See Me to Ping. So I mean, they didn't drop situational there. And then in The Last of Us they have listen mode, which is basically like situational. Everyone kind of has it. And some might argue, oh, well, there's like a cooldown time, but I feel like the cooldown time is pretty generous. You can use what was it, noise mode, sound mode, noise mode, I think. I'm not sure. Maybe listen mode, I don't even know, but I feel like you can use it quite a bit enough to I feel like it's an issue, and it does make the game a little bit scrubby-ish in my opinion. I just wish there's no ability to see through walls in general. I feel like the game would be more fun, more challenging, more rewarding if they just took out listen mode in general. There are boosters to counter it, I guess, but I think the boosters themselves kind of make them overpowered, kind of like Cloaked War, but we'll have to see how the game pans out. But definitely, I really wish Naughty Dog would take out listen mode. I'm not sure if they will, but like I said, I'm totally against like the ability to see through walls, and I think most people are, but I guess it's fairish because everyone has it. It's neither here or there. I just want it out. Please just take out the ability to see through walls, and I've kind of had it with that type of crap. It's been in every like game by Naughty Dog multiplayer wise. I have no idea why. Maybe they should explain it. I'm pretty curious. Another issue is marking people, and some people might be saying, like, what? Marking people, calling people out? Like, kind of like how Call Out, when you aim people, they'd be marked up. In this game, you can aim and click R3 and they'll be like marked up. Yeah, it promotes teamwork and stuff, and that's not a bad thing inherently, but I feel like the whole marking people and calling out kind of also is a detriment in teamwork in terms of it discourages or makes people lazy in terms of communication. Like, I feel like the term call out is you go on a mic and you call shit out. Like, you actually use your fucking mic, you're verbal, get some communication skills with your fucking team, and like verbally call them out. But instead here we have like games with like, you know, there's other multiplayer games that have call out, and some would argue it's a good balance, because if you don't have a mic, then how are you going to communicate well, and then you just mark people. So that's a con to it, I guess. Like, that's something you can say against it, but I do feel like I don't really like how you can call people out just by clicking things. It's not really a huge issue, but I do feel like, yeah, it promotes teamwork in a sense, but I feel like it also like simplifies teamwork, because then people don't have to work on their communication skills and calling shit out. But like I said, that's just a minor grade that might be odd to some people, but that's about it for this video. Like I said, I'm actually fairly surprised with the multiplayer. I'm enjoying quite a bit. I guess it's some positive impressions, whatever. Though, like I said, I still stand initially. If you look at this game, it might not be appealing, but I can't emphasize enough. Don't judge it just by initially looking at it. Give it a try. Give it some time. I think you guys will enjoy it.
I was
As
trying
usual, I'm
to
curious to
comment.
what you guys think. If you guys have been playing it, what you guys think of the multiplayer in general. Leave your thoughts and comments
Well,
below, and I'll see you guys later.
I'd say
Peace.
that went swimmingly.
I'm gonna. Now we have like 20 million sick people. Okay, no, it's 4, but one
Dysentery?
survivor died though. Oh
Yeah,
wait,
but
no,
you
maybe
haven't gone
not.
through that.